Patrick Mahomes just dropped comments that have NFL fans asking serious questions about his future. While the Chiefs prepare for another season, speculation is growing about whether their superstar quarterback will be ready to return at full strength, or even take the field at all. Behind the scenes, uncertainty is building, and Mahomes' latest remarks have only added fuel to the fire. Now, fans across the league are wondering the same thing. Is Kansas City's franchise quarterback facing the biggest crossroads of his career? It was December 14, 2025, a Sunday that ended the Kansas City Chiefs' stranglehold on the AFC. With less than 2 minutes remaining in a must-win home game, Patrick Mahomes was injured after being tackled by Deshaun Hand on a scrambling play. The Chiefs needed that game. They needed every game at that point. And in the most harrowing moment of the franchise's decade-long dynasty, their quarterback, the man who had never missed the playoffs as a starter, crumbled to the turf at Arrowhead Stadium. Mahomes appeared to experience an issue with his already injured left knee and was replaced by backup Gardner Minshew with 1:53 remaining in the fourth quarter. Minshew threw an interception with 14 seconds remaining to drop the Chiefs to 6-8, eliminating them from the playoffs for the first time in 11 seasons. The Kansas City Chiefs were officially eliminated from playoff contention for the first time since 2014, the ending of an era, the closing of a window that had felt permanently open. And then, hours later, came the news that broke the entire NFL world wide open. An MRI confirmed that Chiefs QB Patrick Mahomes sustained a torn ACL in his left knee. Not a sprain, not a bone bruise, a torn ACL. The kind of injury that rewrites careers, reorders power structures, and forces entire franchises to confront a future they weren't ready to face. But Mahomes broke his silence almost immediately, and what he said was not the statement of a man who was finished. Don't know why this had to happen, and not going to lie, it hurts. But all we can do now is trust in God and attack every single day over and over again. Thank you, Chiefs Kingdom, for always supporting me and for everyone who has reached out and sent prayers. I will be back stronger than ever, Mahomes wrote on his X account. It was brief, it was raw, and it lit the internet on fire. The viral post already had over 5 million views and over 90 likes, and many rushed to comment. The NFL world responded with an outpouring that reflected just how central Mahomes has become to the sport itself. Ex-NFL punter turned host Pat McAfee replied, "We love you, man. Godspeed." Meanwhile, ex-Chiefs QB Chase Daniel wrote, "Man, you're the GOAT." And another former quarterback, Robert Griffin III, said, "The best is yet to come for you, brother." While ex-NFL wide receiver Dez Bryant responded, "You are him and will forever be him." The support was universal. But the question behind every single one of those comments was the same. Would Patrick Mahomes, a player who had never truly known adversity in the NFL, be able to come back from this? The larger question as the offseason went along was whether Mahomes would be able to recover in time for Week 1 of the 2026 campaign. Torn ACLs can take anywhere from 9 months to over a year to recover, and Mahomes would presumably undergo surgery sometime in December. That meant the Chiefs could be without their quarterback for OTAs and training camp. For a franchise that had been to 5 Super Bowls in 6 years with Mahomes under center, the prospect of going into a new season without him, even for a single week, was genuinely shocking. Mahomes had never previously missed the playoffs during his first 7 seasons as the Chiefs' starting quarterback. And now, not only had the playoffs come and gone without him, they'd come and gone without the Chiefs at all. Mahomes, 30, carries a career record of 95-31-0 with 267 touchdown passes and 35,939 passing yards across 9 NFL seasons. The 2025 campaign was his most difficult, a 6-8 mark in 14 starts, 22 touchdown passes and 11 interceptions as Kansas City missed the postseason for the first time under Reid's watch. That last number is the one that stings. 22 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. For a quarterback averaging 35 touchdown passes per season across the previous 7 years, that output was more than a down year. It was a distress signal. It pointed backward, all the way to February, to the night in New Orleans, when the Chiefs' dynasty officially started to crack. To understand why Mahomes' silence after the ACL tear hit so hard, you have to go back 9 months earlier to February 9, 2025. When the Kansas City Chiefs walked into the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans with a chance at something no team had ever done before. The Chiefs entered Super Bowl licks with a chance to win their 3rd consecutive Super Bowl, which would have made them the first organization in NFL history to do so. It would have also solidified Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes' spot next to Tom Brady as arguably the best quarterback ever. Instead, neither would happen, as the Chiefs would lose embarrassingly. What followed was not just a loss, it was a demolition. The Chiefs trailed 24-0 at halftime, their biggest deficit under Mahomes. Their offensive line crumbled, their defense had no answers, and their coaching staff got exposed. The result was one of the most lopsided Super Bowl defeats in recent memory. The final score was 40-22 Eagles, but that scoreline barely tells the story of how catastrophically one-sided this game truly was. Patrick Mahomes got sacked a career-high 6 times, and the Chiefs' offensive line got manhandled by the Eagles' pass rush. The Eagles were able to generate pressure even though they didn't blitz a single time in the game. Read that again. The Eagles' front four, without a single blitz, destroyed Kansas City's offensive protection scheme so thoroughly that Mahomes spent the entire night scrambling, throwing off his back foot and making desperate decisions under relentless pressure. Kansas City's offense wasn't just ineffective, it was reckless. Mahomes threw 2 first-half interceptions that directly led to Eagles touchdowns. The first, a pick-6 by Cooper DeJean, came on a forced throw into tight coverage. The second, deep in Chiefs territory, gave the Eagles another short field. Philadelphia turned both into touchdowns, putting the game out of reach early. Mahomes didn't hide from it. Obviously, the turnovers hurt, and I take all the blame for that. Those early turnovers swung the momentum of the game, and they capitalized on them. I didn't play to my standard, and I have to be better next time, he said after the game. That admission matters, because it came from a quarterback who had spent years making the impossible look routine. For Mahomes to publicly absorb that level of responsibility was a crack in the armor, and the broader football world noticed. Analysts pointed to structural problems that ran deeper than one bad performance because of the presence of some highly paid stalwarts. Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, Jawan Taylor, Joe Thuney. Kansas City had been forced to cut corners with their roster. The salary cap reality of sustaining a dynasty had caught up with the Chiefs in the most brutal way possible on the biggest stage in sports. Eagles defensive coordinator Vic Fangio put one of the most athletic defenders in Cooper DeJean on Travis Kelce, then added Reed Blankenship as a robber defender in cover 1, plastering an eagle to every pass catcher while eliminating Mahomes' favorite third down target, Kelce, from the equation. That play ended in a desperate heave by Mahomes that was almost intercepted and proved to be a precursor of what was to come. Fangio complicated the picture for Mahomes, who struggled to find open targets even while the Eagles leaned on cover 4 shells. Against the Eagles, Kelce was held without a catch until the late third quarter, a rarity for a player so integral to the Chiefs' offense. And on the other side of the ball, the Eagles operated with frightening efficiency. Jalen Hurts totaled 293 yards and 3 touchdowns on his way to winning Super Bowl MVP. Kansas City had been outcoached, outmanned, and outplayed. And what made that reality so devastating was that the Chiefs had felt invincible going into that game. Kansas City rode the wave of having a chance to become the first team to three-peat in NFL history all the way to New Orleans, increasing the significance of an already massive game. They had banked on the Mahomes factor, the belief that with him under center, no deficit was ever truly insurmountable. New Orleans proved that belief had an expiration date. The dynasty hadn't just lost, it had fractured. And when the 2025 regular season began in September, it became clear that the fractures were structural, not cosmetic. The warning signs were everywhere from day one of the 2025 NFL season. Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs entered the 2025 season, coming off their loss in Super Bowl licks against the Philadelphia Eagles. There was noise about a roster rebuild, about cap constraints, about the depth at wide receiver. But nobody, not even the most pessimistic analysts, predicted what was about to unfold over the next 4 months. Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs received bad news before the season even began, when they found out wide receiver Rashee Rice would have to serve a 6-game suspension at the start of the 2025 NFL season. Rice had been involved in a multi-car crash in Dallas the prior year, and after pleading guilty to 2 third-degree felony charges, Rice was sentenced to 30 days of jail time and 5 years probation. Instead of waiting for a hearing with the NFL, he chose to serve his suspension at the beginning of the campaign. Mahomes addressed the loss of his leading receiver with characteristic composure. "We prepared a little bit in the offseason for other guys having to step up. Even last year with the injury he had, guys had to step up," Mahomes said, praising Chiefs GM Brett Veach for adding depth at the wide receiver room. But composure in press conferences does not win football games, and the Chiefs went into their season opener, A game in Brazil against the Los Angeles Chargers, shorthanded at the most important skill position on the field. They lost. Then they lost again. The Chiefs opened the 2025 season 0-2 and never quite recovered from it. For a franchise that had defined itself by winning close games, by clutch moments, by the sheer force of Mahomes' will, losing 2 games in a row to start the year, including another defeat to the Eagles in Week 2, was seismic. The last time the Chiefs started a season 0-2 was in 2014, during Reid's second year in Kansas City. The Chiefs finished that season at 9-7 and missed the playoffs. That comparison turned out to be prophetic. The offense looked stale. The receiver corps was undermanned. The offensive line, never truly repaired after the Super Bowl disaster, continued to be a liability. Mahomes was producing below his standards in nearly every statistical category. Mahomes had just 26 touchdown passes in 2024, but is averaging 35 per season in his 7 seasons as the Chiefs starter, and the 2025 numbers weren't trending in a better direction. The team that had once felt unstoppable was grinding through the season looking ordinary. The internal alarm bells were ringing at Arrowhead. Everything about the Chiefs' offense looked stale last season. The play calling under offensive coordinator Matt Nagy drew sustained criticism. The weapons around Mahomes were thin, aging, or suspended. And for the first time in years, opposing defensive coordinators didn't fear the Kansas City offense the way they once had. Then came December 14, the Chargers game. The tackle, the crumple to the turf. For the first time since quarterback Patrick Mahomes became a starter in 2018, the road to the Super Bowl no longer went through the Chiefs in the AFC. A stranglehold on the AFC West was over after 9 straight division titles. Not only was Kansas City missing the playoffs, they were assured of the first losing season during Andy Reid's 13-year tenure as Chiefs coach. The 2025 NFL season will likely be remembered for the surprising ascension of the New England Patriots and Seattle Seahawks. However, it may also be remembered as the year when the Kansas City Chiefs' AFC dominance ended, due in part to Patrick Mahomes' torn ACL. The Chiefs had their streak of 10 straight playoff appearances, and 7 AFC title game appearances snapped. It was over. The dynasty had collapsed in real time, and now the question was whether the most talented quarterback of his generation could put it back together from a hospital bed. The moment the 2025 season ended, the Kansas City Chiefs found themselves standing in rubble, a 6-11 final record, a torn ACL on their franchise quarterback, an aging superstar tight end weighing retirement, a cap sheet that looked like a financial crime scene, and a fan base that had grown so accustomed to winning that they barely knew how to process what had just happened. Everything that happened next, every decision, every statement, every signing, was a direct response to the nightmare that was 2025. Mahomes moved immediately. "I want to be ready for week 1, Mahomes said in January. "The doctor said that I could be, but I can't predict what's going to happen throughout the process. But that's my goal. And so I'll try to prepare myself to be ready to play in that week 1 and have no restrictions." That was the public statement. Behind the scenes, the work was already relentless. The franchise was now facing a complicated offseason as it tried to rebuild around quarterback Patrick Mahomes, who was rehabbing for 7 hours a day after a torn ACL. 7 hours a day. For a man who had never previously suffered a severe injury in 9 NFL seasons, the sheer volume of that commitment was a statement of its own, a message to the rest of the league about exactly what kind of force they would be dealing with. In 2026, just over 1 month after his injury, Mahomes posted a video of himself on March 25, 100 days after his injury, throwing on a turf field at an indoor facility. The quarterback had a sleeve on his left leg as he dropped back, planted his left foot, and threw a pass. The internet erupted. Every NFL analyst dissected the clip frame by frame, and a sports doctor weighed in with the best possible news the Chiefs could have asked for. Great news for Patrick Mahomes. I expect him to start week 1, Florida-based sports medicine specialist Dr. Jesse Morse wrote in a post on social media. Reid confirmed Mahomes holds a realistic shot at joining teammates when Kansas City's first OTAs opened May 26 to 28. But the Mahomes recovery was only one piece of a much larger offseason puzzle. The other piece, perhaps even more emotionally loaded, was Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce's future with the Kansas City Chiefs sat unresolved. and every day without an answer tightened the knot across Chiefs Kingdom. Retirement speculation had lingered since the Super Bowl, the kind of low-grade dread that follows a dynasty when its most recognizable weapon goes dark. After Kansas City was eliminated in a Week 15 loss to the Los Angeles Chargers, a game in which star quarterback Patrick Mahomes also suffered a season-ending torn ACL. Kelce said he would give the Chiefs everything I got in their final 3 games, suggesting that they could be the last 3 of his career. Kelce was treated to an ovation from Chiefs Kingdom in Kansas City's Week 17 loss to Denver, thought to be his final game at Arrowhead. He soaked in the scene at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, after the Chiefs' season-ending defeat to the Raiders. And then the long silence, weeks of nothing. Retirement speculation reached a fever pitch. Every podcast, every analyst, every tweet was asking the same question. Was this the end of Kelce? Then Mahomes posted, not a press conference, not a formal statement, a message. And suddenly, the entire NFL offseason shifted underneath it. He publicly threw his weight behind Kelce's return, a signal interpreted by everyone in the building as the closest thing to an official announcement you could get without one. The Chiefs GM himself revealed the moment the decision was truly made. He basically said, "I'm not going out like this," the Chiefs GM revealed, adding that in October or November he had some concern about Kelce potentially retiring. However, immediately after the Chiefs' last game, Kelce made it clear he'd be back. The veteran tight end returned to the Kansas City Chiefs for a 14th NFL season, agreeing to a 1-year, $12 million contract that is worth up to $15 million. Kelce turned down more money from other teams in free agency to stay with the Chiefs. With both Mahomes committed to Week 1 and Kelce re-signed, the Chiefs then addressed the cap nightmare head-on. The Chiefs were more than $50 million over the projected 2026 salary cap before restructuring Mahomes' deal by converting $54.45 million of his compensation into a signing bonus. They slashed his 2026 cap hit from $78.2 million to $34.65 million, making $43.56 million in free space. Despite this massive move, Kansas City remained roughly $11 million over the cap. The rebuild was in motion. The most important voices had spoken. Now the question was whether the people doing the building could construct something strong enough to weather what was coming. What Mahomes is walking back into in 2026 is not the Kansas City Chiefs he left. The roster has been torn apart and reassembled. The coaching staff has been overhauled. The schedule is brutal. The division is fiercer than it has been in a decade. And the entire NFL teams, coaches, and front offices across all 32 cities spent the 2025 season building specifically to dethrone a franchise that suddenly looked beatable. Make no mistake, what Mahomes said in January, what he posted on social media, and what his recovery arc is revealing about the 2026 season is more than a comeback story. It is a declaration of intent from a quarterback who watched his empire burn to the ground and is now laying the foundation for something new and potentially more dangerous than what came before. Start with the coaching staff. Eric Bieniemy's return to Kansas City was meant to reignite the offense, but his first major observation has been witnessing Patrick Mahomes. This may be his second time in Kansas City, but the coach is still surprised by the franchise quarterback's resilience, just having an opportunity to see him go through his rehab process. He said in an interview, "The thing I love about Pat, which I have always loved, is his competitive spirit. He's so fired up. Everything about the Chiefs' offense looked stale last season, which is why they brought back Eric Bieniemy as their offensive coordinator. He was with the Chiefs when they won 2 of their 3 Super Bowls, and Mahomes had his best passing season under Bieniemy." The return of Bieniemy is not just a personnel move. It is an explicit acknowledgement that the offensive identity of the last 2 years had drifted too far from what made Kansas City great. Bringing Bieniemy back is Mahomes and Reid saying, out loud, that they know what went wrong and they are correcting it. Then there is the roster around him. The Chiefs re-signed tight end Travis Kelce, added several playmakers in the draft, in cornerback Mansour Delane, defensive tackle Peter Woods, edge rusher R. Mason Thomas, and safety Jadon Kennedy, and added potential starters in running back Kenneth Walker III, defensive tackle Kiaris Tonga, cornerback Kaiir Elam, and safety Alohi Gilman. During the offseason, the Chiefs also traded for former New York Jets quarterback Justin Fields and drafted LSU quarterback Garrett Nussmeier in the 7th round of the 2026 NFL Draft. The two will compete with Chris Oladokun for Kansas City's backup spot and potential Week 1 starter status if Mahomes is unable to go. That last detail is the one that nobody in Chiefs Kingdom wants to sit with for too long. There is a version of 2026 that starts with Justin Fields under center at Arrowhead Stadium in Week 1. It may be unlikely. The medical assessments suggest Mahomes is ahead of schedule, but it is a real possibility. If Mahomes isn't cleared by Week 1, the Chiefs' future will be in Justin Fields' hands. His dual threat ability could be an asset in head coach Andy Reid's offensive system, and he has the offensive playmakers Walker, Kelce, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Tyquan Thornton to be successful. And then there's the schedule. Coming off their worst season in 14 years, the Kansas City Chiefs will look to rebound in 2026. The Chiefs are set to open the year against the Denver Broncos in Week 1. The Chiefs have the 5th hardest schedule in the league, based on their opponent's winning percentage from 2025. One of the big reasons they finished under 500 was a 1-5 record against the AFC West last season. The 5 losses against the AFC West nearly matched the Chiefs' total in the first 7 years of Mahomes' career as the starting quarterback. They had never lost more than 2 divisional games in a season since 2014. Denver was potentially a fractured ankle and an untimely squall away from a Super Bowl berth. The Chargers will be healthier across the board after a second straight trip to the postseason, and Las Vegas could be led by a Super Bowl winning head coach and a Heisman Trophy winner at QB. The AFC West, once a division the Chiefs owned so thoroughly it was almost administrative, has evolved into a genuine gauntlet. And yet, the Chiefs will have the chance to get back in the Super Bowl conversation in 2026, but they'll need a healthy Mahomes to do it. Fortunately, the 2-time MVP appears to be on the mend and was on the field for organized team activities. Given Mahomes' profile and Kansas City's history of contention, he should be an early favorite for the NFL's Comeback Player of the Year. The historical precedent for what Mahomes is attempting to do is not just encouraging, it is extraordinary. Joe Burrow tore the ACL, MCL, PCL, and meniscus in his left knee 10 games into his rookie season with the Cincinnati Bengals in 2020. He led the Bengals to the Super Bowl the following season. Adrian Peterson tore the ACL and MCL in his left knee on Christmas Eve during Week 16 of the 2011 season. He didn't miss any games in 2012. In fact, Peterson had a career year. He finished 9 yards short of breaking Eric Dickerson's single-season rushing record of 105 yards. The greatest athletes have a way of answering their worst moments with their best performances. Patrick Mahomes spent 2025 losing the Super Bowl, watching his team collapse, and tearing his ACL in a must-win game, while his franchise's playoff streak ended around him. That is a level of accumulated adversity that would end most careers, or at least permanently alter them. But what Mahomes is telling the NFL, through his training videos, his public statements, his 7-hour rehab days, and his quiet work with Eric Bieniemy behind the scenes at Arrowhead, is that 2025 was not the end of something. It was the beginning of the most motivated version of Patrick Mahomes that any of us have ever seen. Obviously, I think long-term, I want to be ready for Week 1. Patrick Mahomes said, "The doctor said that I could be, but I can't predict what's going to happen throughout the process, but that's my goal. And so I'll try to prepare myself to be ready to play in that Week 1 and have no restrictions." The rest of the NFL has been warned.